Thank you. Beautiful audience. You could shoot a Hallmark movie with this audience. Just enough for diversity. A bunch of nice white people and enough likable minorities. It's a Hallmark set. You watch the Hallmark movie, sir? You watch the Hallmark? My wife had me watch a Hallmark for Christmas. Sit down and watch a movie with me. And I sat down, fell asleep on the Hallmark, woke up, I had menopause. So we went through the craziest time of our lives. We survived. If you're here, you survived. And we did things the last couple of years we will never do again. I'll never forget when the pandemic hit. It was right before Easter. My pastor sent out an email because in California they closed the churches. He said, we're doing Easter online. And for communion, we're going to use whatever you have at home. I don't think I'll ever take communion again from a NyQuil shot glass. With prune juice and a flaming hot Cheeto for the body. First year, right before Christmas, the week of Christmas, my son lost a tooth, and he asked me, Dad, will the Tooth Fairy and Santa show up the week of Christmas? I said, son, you're 27. Start flossing and stop calling me, all right? So if you know my story, I've been married to my same woman twice. We got married young, divorced young, and 23 years later, we got back together, and it's a beautiful love story, but we have 2 anniversaries now. She wants to celebrate both. You know, men, did you know there's a gift chart for anniversaries? Did you know that, sir? There's a gift chart. Even if you don't think you know it, because they're the big ones. Silver anniversary is 25, 50 is golden, but they have something for every year. First year is paper. Right there, they got it wrong. First year should be golden. We still like each other. 50th should be paper. You just write a note. We made it. They have a gift for every year. Who came up with this gift chart? No straight man wrote that gift chart. If it was a straight man, it was an old school Mormon. Back when they had multiple wives, the wives are arguing, well, how come she got a better gift? Well, she's been here longer, Sarah. Thought I would try that one on the dry bar. We've been back together 5 years. If we had never divorced, we'd been together 37 years. She wants to celebrate both. 5 years is wool. 37 years is not just China, it's bone China. I can afford wool. I don't know about that bone China. So I compromised. That's the key to any successful marriage is compromised. I got her a wool sweater made in China. Ladies, we get it. You're smarter than us. Clap if you agree, men. The ladies, they have intuition that we don't have. Clap if you're proving my point, bro. The 3 guys without a date, none of them clapped. All right. We're smarter. I think all the men would agree. All we ask is let us be right every once in a while. Wouldn't you be happy just win one a year? And don't let us be right when you know we're wrong. We're turning left, you know we should go right, and you're like, go ahead, Columbus. I almost got shot for not listening to my wife. Not by her, she's Puerto Rican, so she would have cut me. But I was performing at a prison in California. I go do prison ministry, and the #1 rule is your attire, and above all, you cannot wear blue jeans. Inmates wear blue jeans. So So I'm getting dressed early in the morning, and my wife says, "Why are you wearing blue jeans?" I said, "They're black." She said, "They're blue." I said, "They're black." She said, "Go ahead." I show up at the prison, and the correctional officer looks me up and down and says, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm here for the morning chapel. I'm the comedian for today." She said, "Oh, not today. You're wearing blue jeans." And in that light, I could see my jeans were blue. The prison is 5 minutes from Costco. I've got 30 minutes to go to Costco, buy a pair of black pants, get back, process into the prison. The parking lot is about 4 blocks away. I've got 30 minutes, so I take off running. By the way, if you're leaving a prison wearing blue jeans, do not run. And that's what I heard from the guard tower. Do not run. I assumed he was talking to somebody on the other side of the fence. So I kept running, and the next thing I heard was, "If you continue to run, we will be forced to shoot." Now that'll stop anybody in their tracks. I looked up and said, "Me?" He goes, "Yes, you, in the blue jeans. You should listen to your wife." I think every man, if you want a happy marriage, you should get a good Forrest Gump impression. It'll end every argument. You guys are going at it and just look at her and go, "Wow, I'm not a smart man, Jenny." Fight's over. So I have kids at home still. I'm too old to be dealing with this. I have a teenager that thinks he's smarter than me. Anybody dealing with that? Teenagers that think they're smarter? The fact that he's smarter than me doesn't bother me. But that he thinks he's smarter than me is what irritates me. He thinks he has more street cred than me. I'm from Berkeley and Oakland, California. I'm a Desert Storm combat veteran. I've been shot at, not in Desert Storm, in Oakland. I've been shot. And I feel like I'm getting punked in my own house every day. And it's subtle. Like early December, I'm sitting at my desk. My son comes into my room and he fakes being humble. How do you fake humility? Has a little piece of paper in his hand. As he approaches me, he puts his head down. He says, "Dad, this is all I want for Christmas." I take that piece of paper, and as I unfold it, it was a full sheet of paper. The boy listed 10 video games. Those are $70 a piece. I reached over on my desk, I got his report card, and I folded it as small as I could. I said, "You should read this, son." The boy had a D in English. That's the only language he speaks. I said, "How did you almost flunk talking?" My daughter, first special, I talked about her not dating. Well, she went to college, and she came home when the pandemic hit, and one of her high school friends has been upgraded to boyfriend. And what's freaking me out is I like him. My only problem is I can't remember his name. He's got the most hardcore Latino name I've ever heard. His parents are from Peru, and the only way I can remember this Peruvian young man's name is to think of a Japanese tourist saying hello in English. Jairo. That's his name, Jairo. Jairo. And that's the only way I remember him when he comes to the front door. Japanese tourist, Jairo. He's romantic. He's freaking me out. He showed up at my house the week of Thanksgiving. He showed up with a picnic basket and a bouquet of flowers. I said, "Jairo, what are you doing?" He goes, "I bought her flowers." I said, "I could see that. Now I need to go buy my wife flowers." I didn't let him in the house. I said, "Goodbye, Jairo." My daughter thinks that was racist. She said, "You've insulted all of Japan and Peru." I said, "I did not insult Japan or Peru. I insulted Jairo." Under 35, make some noise. If you're not 35 yet, make some noise. Clap your hands if you're not 35. All right. Congratulations, you're part of the stupidest generation in the... Our daughter says, you can't say that, Dad. We're very smart. Look at the technology. I said, you guys don't even know which bathroom to use. You're gonna get canceled. I said, who's gonna cancel me? I never subscribed. You have to subscribe to get canceled. I've got grandkids now, man. 6 grandkids, 2 granddaughters, and they're the princesses. They're the oldest and youngest. But in the middle, 4 grandsons. Nico, Nolan, Sebastian, and Ace. Ace. I am the grandson of Sixto Sanchez and Fulgencio Gaxiola. Those are my 2 grandfathers, Sixto and Fulgencio. And my grandsons are Nico, Nolan, Sebastian, and Ace. We went from vine ripened to store-bought salsa in 2 generations. Been at home a lot, man, and even doing shows online. I'm sick of social media. My #1 pet peeve with social media is when people put status like, am I the only one? You ever see anybody like that? Am I the only one that thinks tacos are better than burgers? Stupid status like that. There's almost 8 billion people on Earth. I don't care what you think, you're not the only one. If you feel sorry for albinos because they're white without the privilege and black without the cool, you're not the only one. If you thought the Beatles had a hit song named Hey Dude, you're not the only one. If you think Chuck E. Cheese is a gateway to future gambling problems, you're not the only one. If you notice that Barbara Bush and the Quaker Oat Man never went to the same party, you're not the only one. If you think Rosie O'Donnell is the most beautiful woman in the world, okay, you're the only one, right? I didn't watch a lot of the Olympics, but the one day that I did catch it, the Summer Olympics, I was falling asleep to the TV and the Olympics came on and I woke up and they had the speed walking on, the worst sport ever. The rules are for speed walking, 1 foot must be on contact with the ground at all times. So you see them going like this, their feet. And then the announcer said, and this really caught my attention, Mexico has won the most Olympic medals of any country in speed walking. And the light bulb went on. All these years that I thought I had a sensitive stomach when I eat my people's food. I don't have a sensitive stomach. I am a speed walker. Chili's too hot, a little while later, I'm up really fast. Any other speed walkers? So I love doing comedy. During the last couple of years, I had 3 near-death experiences. So getting back out with live audiences and being able to make people laugh is a big joy of mine. First near-death experience was because I'm cheap. I had to get to Las Vegas, evening show. I could have caught an afternoon flight, but I caught the 6 a.m. flight because it was $200 cheaper. I barely got any sleep. I make it to the airport. I'm on the flight. I'm half asleep when we're taking off. But I'm one of those guys that I don't care how cheap the flight was. If I don't get my free drink and my free snack, I feel like I got ripped off. Anybody else like that? We're in the air halfway between Oakland, California, and Las Vegas. And I hear the snack cart going by as I'm half asleep. And I'm like, hey, peanuts. Look at this Coke and some peanuts. And I got my little snack, and I was so tired, I didn't eat a couple of peanuts at a time. I poured the bag into my mouth, and one went right down my windpipe. Halfway between Las Vegas and Oakland, I'm choking. And the flight attendant, a very nice, flamboyant man, came running down the aisle. I was like, oh my goodness, he's choking on peanuts. I gave myself the Heimlich right there. Spit that peanut out, and I was like, sir, it's peanuts. One S, not a lot of S's, sir. Death scare number 2 was again my fault. I thought I was having a heart attack. Turned out it was gas. If you've ever had gas caught in your ribs near your heart, it'll make you think you're having a heart attack. I'm having trouble taking a deep breath, and I told my wife, I can't take a deep breath. She said, heart attack. So we're driving to the hospital, and I was trying to make myself relax. And I was playing with I had a brand new iPhone. And my text notification, I'll never forget, was Bamboo. Bamboo text notification sounds like this, which is irritating me because if somebody smacked their lips, I would look at my phone thinking I had a text and there was nothing there. Now, I'm a church boy, but I don't like churchy people. But I did something very churchy. I changed from bamboo to trumpets. Get to the hospital. As soon as you say chest pains, they take you to the front of the line, put you in a gurney. They wired me up for an EKG, and they didn't let my wife in because of the pandemic. So she's sitting in the parking lot, and they gave me some medicine to help me relax, and I'm dozing off. And about 2 hours in, my wife sends me a text to see how I'm doing. So I'm half asleep, thinking I'm having a heart attack, and I hear, boo, boo. Oh no, I didn't make it. I opened my eyes, and there was 2 Filipino nurses there. And the one nurse said, are we taking him to the carjack unit? And I was like, I did not get carjacked. And they're like, calm down, sir. We're taking you to the carjack unit. And then I realized she was saying cardiac. They had to put the little oxygen sensor on my finger, and when they did, just stick it out my finger, and it kind of pulled my finger, and I farted, and the pain was gone. I wish that was a joke. Death scare number 3 was the scariest one of all. I'm not making fun of cancer. My wife is a 5-time cancer survivor. I'm not making fun of breast cancer because she has survived breast cancer. But men, did you know we can get breast cancer? Yes, men can get breast cancer. And I found out one day when I'm in the shower and I feel a lump on the right side of my chest. And I get out of the shower and I go, sweetheart, I have a lump on my chest. And she examines me. She goes, you have a lump on your chest. And I said, I know. That's why I said I have a lump on my chest. She goes, you should call your doctor. So I call my doctor, and the next day they see me, and the doctor examines me. He goes, you have a lump on your chest. I said, I know. That's why I told my wife, and she made me call you because I said I have a lump on my chest. If I lived to be 100 years old, I would bet every dollar I ever made that I would not go through this next ordeal, because he scheduled what he called an X-ray. And the next thing you know, I'm in the mammogram department. Now, I have a lot of respect for women, never more than now, because that experience is painful, no matter what size you are. By the way, I'm an A cup. I found out. A couple days later, the doctor calls me and says, come in, we have some good news and some bad news. He goes, good news, you're not developing breast cancer. The bad news, you're developing a breast. Singular, one. Which really freaked my wife out because she has OCD and everything needs to match. OCD, you know what I'm talking about. But the doctor had told me to bring in my prescription. So I bring in my prescription and he says, this is a side effect to your blood pressure medicine. 1 in a million men will develop male breast growth. You're it. I'm looking at the bottle, I go, hold up. It says upset stomach, headache, Nowhere on here does it say, and you might grow a chi-chi. His treatment plan was the funniest part of all, because he said, okay, so you could keep taking the medicine, or you can stop. And if you stop, it'll go away, and we'll give you a different medicine. And of course, I stopped, and it went away, and honestly, I miss her. I love the diversity here. I go to a big church in Fairfield, California, a very diverse church. And if you're not comfortable in a church like that, don't worry about heaven. You're not going. No, that's what heaven's going to be like. All of God's children around the throne speaking Spanish. It's going to be beautiful. Come on, he named his son Jesus. That one's in the book. He didn't name him Jeffrey. He didn't name him Jamil. He named him Jesus. Oh, there's a lot of Latinos in the Bible. They don't teach this most Sundays. You got to read between the lines. Moses was very Mexican. Come on, who else? Get a bunch of people across the river to the promised land. That's my people. We've been doing this for thousands of years. Okay? We're not undocumented, we're traditionalists. King David, Mexican. Only a 5-foot Mexican could look at a 9-foot giant and go, I could take him. Abraham, Father Abraham, Mexican. Come on, he was 100 when his old lady got pregnant. Come on. Don't get churchy, that's in the Old Testament, all right? I didn't make that up, okay? And some people think Noah could have been Mexican. Noah was not Mexican. That story would have ended tragically different. Noah had been Mexican, man, because, taking care of animals, that's a gift the Lord gave our white brothers and sisters. White folks, you could find a stray pit bull. That night, he will have a bath and be in your bed. You're safe now. Noah had been Mexican. When the rain ended, the ark would open up. Noah steps off with some leather boots. The Lord is like, Noah, where are the cows? Would you like a taco? This is the gift the good Lord gave me, telling jokes. I went to Bible school for 5 years, and I'm still 3 years away from an associate's degree. This is what I got, jokes. You see some of those preachers on TV, they're so anointed when they pray for people, the people fall out. I didn't get that one. I got jokes. And I understand why, but because the sense of humor the Lord gave me, if he put that kind of anointing on my life, I would abuse it. I go to the movies and there's a big head person in front of me. I go to the post office and there's a long line. I be like, oh, we're about to have revival up in here. I'm in front. You guys have been very kind to me. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the night. Good night. God bless you. One of the great things about Dry Bar Comedy and the app is that you can tip the comedians. And after you watch my special, you know I've got 6 kids, 6 grandkids, 2 anniversaries. Help me, help you, help me. Tip, I accept them. I'm not too proud.